minutes after 7. 2 minutes after 7. That's a world record.
I am not going to doubt that because that seems efficient.
We have more traffic lights than you guys.
Well, we have more people living south, right?
Wait, South is love?
South is love.
South is love. So welcome back, guys. This is We the Youth, and of course we do this from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 3061065, and of course you can give us a call within the next hour, which is from 4 to 5. We the Youth here with Anarian Mason.
Yes, correct.
Why did I think that your name was wrong?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, somebody we missing here. Possibly Rudy?
Yes, we're missing Rudy, but today, just like last week, Rudy is doing some national development like I was doing.
Aye. So how we getting into this national development thing? I like this. Skip a few days.
Skip a few days?
Yes, no?
Well, we'll see what happens.
Oh my gosh.
But today on We the Youth, we have a very interesting topic. Our topic is our climate, our care, healing people and planet.
Healing people and the planet, that big work, you know.
Yeah, because you can't want to heal the people and they're dying
Heal
on the planet.
world. That makes sense.
But you can't want to heal the planet and the people dying. It goes hand in hand, right?
It does. You have a point. But healing the planet is a big thing. And in my view, and I don't know if I know we have a lot of listeners listening now. In my view, people don't really care about that, you know.
How can you not care about that?
Listen. I'm saying that there are people out there who honestly don't care about the planet.
No, but those people, do they go Maracas Beach or any of these beaches and...
Maybe they just be home locked in all the time. I don't know.
Well, it had to be because you can't want to go on the beach and it's littered with rubbish and garbage and
you're leaving it.
or even stuff an oil spill.
True.
Imagine
true,
going
true.
Maracas or going to some beach down in South, like
I don't
Point
want
Forty.
to end up in oil. Ew, that's
And
not
you-
good for my skin.
It depends on the oil.
But it depends on my skin. I have beautiful skin.
True.
Yes.
So we need to heal the people and the planet.
And the planet at the same time. And I agree with you. But my question is, right? And of course, we are just talking. And in a while, we will introduce our guests. And Anarian, why don't people care? Why don't we care about it? Why don't we see enough persons? And I'm just limiting it to Trinidad and Tobago. Why do we don't care about our environment, our world, our place, our own home? Why don't we?
Because they say God is our Trinity.
Well, he has an ID card, but that doesn't give away from the fact that we should take care of it.
Yeah.
Is it because he's a Trini?
No, but you see, it's a Trinidadian or a Trinbagonian mentality because we don't fix unless it's broke.
That suck.
How many different entities have vehicles that you see parked up on the side of the road or it's abandoned because it's broken? If we do preventative maintenance and we change the oil when we need to and we change the shocks
Carry fee.
and those things,
Sorry, that was just a reminder for
To change your oil?
Yeah. Thanks.
shout out to your mechanic. I can change oil by myself now, so
Aye. All right.
you
Are
can
not
come down
months
south and hit me up.
Wait, what? In that traffic? Nah, man. Come down from me.
Right. But yeah, if it ain't broke, they don't fix it. So it's probably not affecting them, or they don't think it's affecting them. Because climate change, as simple as flooding, is an aspect of climate change.
Right.
And as we've noticed for the past couple of years, our flooding situations have gotten worse.
Yeah. Because in where I'm at, in Maloney, we never used to flood. Up until like about 8-9 years. When rain starts to fall, when it starts to rain, it pours, you know.
It does. It
And
does.
I was like, but since when home by us here flooding? But then again, you see, we don't pay attention to climate change.
Well, there's a running joke that Rudy and I have, and I'm mentioning
It's
because
running or it's walking?
It's running.
Okay, all right, let's go.
So, in 2017, when the whole of South was isolated due to floods, that was
Yeah.
around Diwali time,
The big floods.
the big one.
Yeah.
If Rudy didn't leave South half an hour before he left, he would have been a Southian
Oh my gosh.
for a couple of weeks.
But that would
because
have
we
been
were
nice.
we
South
were
is love.
underwater.
South is love.
South is love.
Yeah, it is.
Big up Rudy.
Big up you, Rudy.
But yeah, since 2017, look at the catastrophes we've had. Look at the categories of hurricanes we have been experiencing, or that has been missing us and hitting our sister isles and then further up if it is you go up to Miami, Texas, and so forth. It's ridiculous compared to how it was when I was younger.
Right.
Not
A
that I'm
long time
old.
ago. That's a long time ago.
That's just the other day.
Okay, all right. Fine.
So today, on We the Youth, created by our portal for accountability and representation of Trinidad and Tobago, where we elevate youth voices. It's a show by the youth, for the youth, and of the youth. We want to look at how climate change and healthcare can play a factor to young people.
Oh, how it can go in hand.
How it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because we need to take better care of ourselves. There are
True.
so many different things. And on several of our episodes, we've heard our guests and them talk about healthcare and healthy lifestyles. On 3, maybe 4, maybe 5.
5 of them.
5 of them.
5 of them.
So, Carrie, what do you say? Are you ready to briefly introduce our guest stars today?
No, but if I am ready, if I told you that I'm not ready, would that even because you are the professional introducer.
I
aren't
am
you?
the introducer.
Of course you are. Of course you are. You are the introducer.
So, how do they go, ladies first?
No, that we did that in the last episode. So this time, men are first.
Okay, so for those listening in, we're joined by 2 very young people here. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Dr. Matthew Ramrine, who's my personal doctor, by the way.
Hey, Matthew.
Big up him.
Big up Dr. Matt.
He is the founder of the Lotus Medical Center in Faizabad, so you know how far he came from just to be here with us today. With a strong commitment to healthcare excellence, he brings a wealth of expertise in general practice and occupational medicine. For those who don't know, he'll explain a little more what that is. His passion extends to addressing NCDs or non-communicable diseases and understanding their profound impact not only in the workplace but also in the broader community. So, greetings, Dr. Matthew.
Ariane, Kerry, thanks for having me here today.
Sure.
Right, so the traffic really wasn't that bad to come up though.
It wasn't that bad.
It's like an hour and 10 minutes?
So close in the mic for me.
It's an hour and 10 minutes from Faizabad.
Oh, 10 minutes.
And I'm looking forward to the 3-hour drive back
That's
home though,
still
I'll tell you
a lot.
that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, yeah, we want to get laid back and relax until 6, and then probably we could go knock a few and
So you keep
then
it
kill
for the
some
rest of the
time. We could knock some time, kill some time. You know, so when the traffic goes down, you're probably getting about a half hour back. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I would also like to introduce the young lady who's here with us, Miss Katrina Khan Roberts. Katrina Khan Roberts took on the role of Martina, the Trinidad and Tobago mermaid.
Oh.
Did you know we have a Trini mermaid?
No. I hope you could swim.
After 15 years in the youth space towards ocean literacy.
Ah, nice. I see why now.
What do mermaids have to do with climate change?
Everything. Not everything.
I don't know.
Well, of course, you're not a mermaid, but of course, Katrina would tell us.
I
because
would
she
be a
is.
merman, correction.
It's not the same thing?
No,
Oh, gosh.
there's a difference between male and female.
Ah.
I would like to believe.
Yeah, but let's ask Katrina. She will probably tell us if there's a difference.
So, Katrina, is there a difference between...
So we say mer people now.
Oh,
gender
well,
neutral.
Yes.
that makes sense, right? Mer people. So get that right.
Right, she's also the national coordinator for Trinidad and Tobago Climate Network under the Caribbean Climate Network, and has about 15 years experience in the environmental and climate youth advocacy space. So, with that brief introduction of both of them, we'll let them get more into themselves. But Carrie, I do know you have to take a break.
Of course, because it's only 3:15, and if you're now joining us, good afternoon and welcome. We are about to take a break. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 3061065, and of course, you can check us out on our webpage, Freedom 106.5 FM, and our Facebook page where you can stream us live. But we're about to take a break, so continue keeping it locked. It is Freedom 106.5 FM. We'll be back.
This April, Freedom 106.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
For generations we've been serving you, giving you the best for less, that's what we do. Friendly faces, fresh foods on every aisle. At JTA Supermarkets, you are sure to smile. The best prices each day. Come to JTA. You feel like family. Here at JTA. Shop safe and happily. When you're at JTA, there's more in store today. It's all at JTA. Whoa. At JTA. JTA Supermarkets. Your total bill always costs less at JTA.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we are live every day from 3 to 5 p.m. I'm joined by two lovely young people in studio, Katrina and Dr. Matthew, or Dr. Ramnarayan. So just before the break, I briefly introduced both of them. And I just want to let them tell a little bit about themselves and their story as to how they got here.
Of course. Yeah.
So
let's go.
don't all rush at once. I prefer females first because
Yeah, you
chivalry
must
is not dead.
Whilst I understand that, however, for the past few shows, ladies always introducing themselves first and saying it first. So you know what? Get him man the thing now.
Okay.
Get him man the thing.
Matthew, I guess we pass the mic on to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into where you are now.
So, as a doctor, the journey started a long time ago. I think it was since like primary school or high school.
Nice.
But it wasn't always geared towards NCDs and occupational medicine. That kind of came in over time.
Stick up in there. Occupational medicine. I think you mentioned that, Anarian, earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the ones who don't know what occupational medicine is, just kindly briefly give us that little quick explanation of occupational medicine.
No problem at all. So people have a misconception with occupational medicine just being only about health and safety in terms of like a workplace. You get in accidents, you have injuries on site, but it actually is a lot more, because the health and wellness of like a workforce is much more than just health and safety only, in the sense that like preventing injuries and those things on the job or the workplace.
All right.
It stems all the way back to like diabetes, hypertension, obesity.
Really? Your work could make it could get that?
Well, you work better if you don't have it.
Well, hello. Listen. I need to let me get this on record so that these workplaces would know these things.
Right. So other than that, yeah. So we do a lot in Faisabad itself. There's an underserved community in terms of the population for healthcare. We have a health center there, but other than that, most persons tend to rush towards San Fernando or rush towards like Pinal, Davie, that area. So Faisabad was kind of always left like out of it, right? So Lotus Medical Center serves to like basically bridge that gap, right?
Lotus Medical Center, I love it.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's a hit.
Yes, it sounds nice.
And they're reasonably priced as well.
Oh, really?
I
so
can attest
is
it.
this you telling me to come to Faisabad to see Dr. Matt?
Well, I think our next guest may tell you that would not be efficient because of the distance
Because
and the
I'll have
amount
to-
of carbon emissions.
Well, yes, true.
So I think that's a good segue for Katrina to tell us how she got into the climate action and how she became the mermaid.
So it's almost a similar story actually, because it's primary school. You find that, oh, it's getting hotter. Oh, there's Captain Planet on TV telling me something's going on. Ingaluk and the Nyam Nyams are eating the
my
planet.
God. You see? You
That's
know
the
about
age
show.
that I am at. So
You
I'm
know
like,
about show.
I'm like the older youth.
Right.
So like I'm like on the end of it, but I use my entire youth to talk about the environment and
Right.
climate change.
Nice.
So, you know, all of these things, the media has such a big impact on what we understand and what we know. And that is where I found my passion, because I want to bridge science and communication and entertainment education.
So where mermaid came from? How come? How that name just pow in your lap? How
So
come?
I think my parents would have gone to Tobago when I was 6 months in my mom's womb,
Mhm.
and I think I like the shake up of the ocean.
Oh.
So yeah, mommy and daddy always had us at the beach
Nice.
almost every single weekend. Whole fam jam, go down
Mm.
Mayaro, go to Tobago or somewhere, and I just fell in love with the ocean.
Nice.
And at the age of 6 in Storby, this is on record now, my cousin
Mhm.
called me Mertrina because I was pretending to swim like a mermaid. So Katrina, Mertrina. And that was where it started.
Hmm.
There we go. That's
So
interesting.
I want to be a mermaid.
Well,
Yeah,
all
well.
you need to go is take a cousin and go Stobby.
I think so, yeah. Listen, I don't have my cousin's phone numbers on speed dial, but I'll put it. Yeah, and go Stobby.
Just
Stobby,
send
we coming.
Send a message in the family group chat.
I'm bringing no, I know about that. I'm bringing an Arian. He's gonna be a mer person as well.
Well,
So
yeah.
let me get into it now.
Okay, so with that being said, and as Carrie is insisting we go men first, Dr. Amnarine, can you quickly tell us or give us an idea as to how the healthcare system works in Trinidad, with the difference between public and private?
Sure. So we have a dual system here in Trinidad, which is public, which is free of use, and then private, which would be like fee-based, right? The public service is managed through the RHAs or the regional health authorities, which serves as like governing bodies for different areas within Trinidad.
So how many RHAs do we have in Trinidad?
Five, and Tobago
That includes Tobago?
includes Tobago.
For our listeners out there, can you identify those 5? Because I just know of 2, I think. I know Swara.
Which is
and-
Southwest Regional.
Yeah, because I
right?
live in Southwest, right?
There's North Central, there's Eastern Regional Health Authority,
Hmm.
there's also, which one we forget so far?
We say
Northwestern.
northwestern, north central.
Yeah,
North
so
Central.
Northwestern, North Central, Southwestern,
Mm.
Eastern Regional, and then we
Mm.
have the Tobago.
Okay, nice. So, how do they play a factor into governing and getting things done?
So they have their own budgets allocated under the Ministry of Health, and they are able to govern, like I'm talking about not just like the hospital alone or the
Mhm.
health centers alone, but the other health initiatives that they have under within that area, whether it be like public outreach systems, different types of ways to get with the public, I would say.
Right.
So that's exactly what they're in charge of.
Okay, and how do the private sector play their role in that then?
Okay, so in terms of the private sector, so you're talking about basically fee-based now. So it's just money you gotta pay for it, right? Now some people have a big misconception about the private sector. They think have a poor light is shed on it.
Mm-hmm.
And being somebody who is part of the private health sector, I want to kind of like shine a better light on it, I would say.
Please
Because
do.
not every private healthcare office or entity is looking to gouge you,
Right.
right? Some of us, if not a lot of us, really do try to put our best foot forward to help to bridge that area in terms of persons who can access both public and private because they have the means to.
Mm.
Right.
And to some extent, it really does help to relieve some of the burden on the public system rather than everybody just going towards the public system,
Right.
overcrowd and overburden it. So we do help to kind of alleviate that, I would say.
Okay, and Katrina, what exactly is the climate crisis like in Trinidad? What are we seeing within the country, if you can, for a moment, that current state analysis of Trinidad and the climate crisis?
Nice. So basically, climate change is a human impacting change on our climate. We all know we have the dry and wet seasons, right? That is natural variability, but climate change is because humans are burning fossil fuels and putting out all these emissions into our atmosphere faster than our atmosphere and our environment can, assimilate them,
Mhm.
right? So, say like in the time of the dinosaurs and stuff like that, the atmosphere would have been different.
Right.
Temperature would have been different, right? Our entire world is different in terms of its shape and the processes that we have today. We have more plants. Plants use the oxygen just as much as we do. They also convert carbon dioxide into oxygen and stuff like that. All of these things are happening at the same time. Some of the things that are still coming to knowledge, because remember, we have dark oxygen now coming from the deep sea. That is actually
What?
something that just recently
That is the
was
first time I'm hearing of that.
oxygen?
Yes.
Is it like dark in color or just
No, it's because
hard
it's
to get?
produced without sunlight. So all oxygen was thought to be,
So
photosynthesis.
how they get us oxygen?
Deep sea studying. That is what we have to do, because the
What?
ocean is not fully discovered yet.
Well, true. Yeah, we know that. But how we getting oxygen from under there? We putting it in a glass bottle or something, and what we doing?
So there are
What-
nodules that produce oxygen in the deep sea. Yeah, from the actual chemical reactions. So photosynthesis is a biochemical reaction, because it uses things that are alive, which are the plants, as well
Mhm.
as the sunlight and stuff like that. Chemistry is there, right?
So photosynthesis for our listeners out there is just a big word for how plants use sunlight to convert it into food.
Exactly. So dark oxygen just does not use sunlight. It's
They
another
just use the
chemical reaction.
darkness.
Basically, it
More or
happens
less.
in darkness. Yeah.
Wow, this is the first time I heard about that.
First time I've heard the term.
It's
Dark
very
oxygen.
new. Yeah. Dark oxygen. Look
But
it
I
up.
would have thought, coming from a science background, that there are plant life on the seafloor. They still need oxygen.
No, but they
No,
need
well, they
water,
still
so
need
like
carbon
water.
dioxide.
They'll be like water plants or something.
Well,
Probably.
probably.
So there's
I don't
some
do science.
organisms that we don't know about. But going back to your question about climate and our little islands here,
Mhm.
small islands are so susceptible to sea level rise, salinity coming in because the ocean rising,
Mm.
temperature changes. It is just we vulnerable.
But Katrina, where are we? Where are we here in Trinidad and Tobago? Where are we when it comes to climate change awareness? Do you think that we are doing enough to bring that awareness to the forefront?
Like I said, 15 years trying to educate and bring awareness. It is still not where it's supposed to be. And it's not for a lack of effort. And it's not for a lack of people who know about it and are trying. But, Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
No.
Okay, so psychology.
Right.
If it is that I don't have food on my table, am I going to bother about climate? No.
No.
If I don't have enough money to send my kids to school, am I going to bother about climate?
Oh,
So the
see where you're
hierarchy
going.
of needs, if it is you cannot meet your basic needs, how are you going to care about anything that you can't see is really affecting your
Ah,
needs? So
That making sense.
that is one I've come to terms with that, and especially with youth. How is it that you're going to convince somebody that in the next 50 years this is going to impact you when tomorrow you don't know where you're getting
Your next meal
meal
from.
from dollar, how you're going to go to the movies. I mean, those are the kinds of your social
Your socio-economic. way of it.
perspective.
Right.
That is what
Wow.
yeah.
Now that you broke it down like that, because I mean, let me be real. It have some of us out here, we really not thinking about that, because of what you mentioned. Where I get my next meal, I now lose my job today. Where am I gonna get a next job? My daughter, my husband, my son sick. How am I gonna take them to a private institution? Because I know when I go to the public hospitals, I had to wait 10 hours just to see a doctor, right? And for us to be thinking about that and not thinking about the environment and climate change, it's kind of almost just as bad, because we don't know when something is going to happen to our environment, to the climate. We don't know when. And if we don't put something in place, like let's say for instance a policy, and enforce that policy and ensure that we have drives going on right through the year, let's say education right through the year, then eventually persons would adapt it and say, hey, you know what, I shouldn't burn this thing, or I shouldn't litter here, So it's something that has to continuously happen.
You just said the
Right.
perfect bridge actually between health and the environment.
Yeah, we had something have to continuously happen for us to be like, all right, cool, it's time to adapt because this is not going away. We have to adapt it.
All right.
Yeah, it's time for the break. 3:30. Thanks so much for giving me that reminder, Narion. So, guys, it's just about 3:30. Continue sending me those messages via WhatsApp 3061065. And yeah, so much more. We'll be taking your calls in the 4 o'clock hour, and we are here. This is We the Youth, and we are here with Katrina and Dr. Matt. And we are talking about, let me get it. Yeah, we'll take some time. I use my left hand. I'm using my left hand. This is We the Youth, our climate, our care, healing people and the planet. Was that difficult? No, it wasn't, Carrie V. What's wrong with you? So we're going to take a break and be back. Keep it locked.
This April, Freedom 106.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Coming from sold out houses in Port of Spain, CPR Productions presents 7 Year Itch. San Fernando, it's your turn. One night, one show. Now Prima Bowl, Sunday 4th May, 6:30 p.m.
This so much trying to cramp my style over. I know I would have win Diego Martin seat. Hands down.
7 Year It stars Cecilia, Brody, Benny, Saran, Kevon, and Siobhan.
Tickets available at Antonio's Floral Val Park Shopping Plaza, K-Squared Stores, Brentwood Mall, and C3 Center. Ateliers by the park and Island e-tickets online.
Box office open Thursday, the 1st of May. Call 466-3111 or 683-4843 for information and bookings.
7 Year Itch, one show. Sando, don't miss it.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is the voice of the PNM. TNT, we're inviting you to join us as we write a new chapter with Prime Minister Stuart Young. On Wednesday, April 23rd, St. James, meet us at corner Bones Road and Church Street. Then on Thursday, April 24th, Sangre Grande, meet us at the PTSE Terminal. Hear from our chairman, Prime Minister the Honorable Stuart Young, and a lineup of powerful speakers. St. James, see you on Wednesday, April 23rd. Sangre Grande, see you on Thursday, April 24th. All meetings start at 6:30 p.m. This is a new chapter for TNT. We're red, ready, and responsible. On April 28th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new Talk Radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we're live every day from 3 to 5 p.m. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Carrie V.
Hi. Hi, Anarian. I'm here.
And just before the break, Harry, we were getting into a very heated conversation about the heat of the planet, about climate change.
Yeah, we will.
And with that, I would like to ask our young guest, Katrina, the mermaid, Mertrina. So, as Trinidad and Tobago being literally a dot on the map, what difference can we make in the climate change? Because climate change doesn't just affect Trinidad and Tobago. It's a global phenomenon. So where do you see us making that difference in the world?
So the great thing about Trinidad and Tobago is that we actually have the economic capacity bigger than any other Caribbean nation, well, almost. And so that gives us a certain amount of flexibility when it comes to adaptation, right?
Really?
Yes. So yes, we are a fossil fuel producing nation, which directly ties into the climate crisis, but our responsibility is not as large as those international, bigger powerhouses like China, America. They're burning beyond, I think, I can't even give you the figure how many times Trinidad's emissions they are burning. So yes, we do have our own little responsibility because we are environmental stewards and we are living on a small island, but the money that we could get from loss and damage because of these bigger countries that are making these big carbon emissions, then, because remember, climate change is you can't measure it just so. It is measured in the carbon emissions.
Right, yeah.
So if it is that you measure ours against theirs, we'll never come close, but we still have a responsibility.
Okay, and with that being said, what do you see? So let's look at climate change and health, because that's what we're talking about, right? People and planet. What illnesses, or what? How does the climate change affect people now?
So climate change, you're affected by Sahara dust.
Yes, like all the
Right.
time.
So that is actually a direct impact of climate change as well, because not just the Sahara getting hotter, the wind is getting stronger, bringing more dust across. The ocean is hotter as well. This is just a whole. If you put on more fire on the pot of soup, and it will bubble more. So basically, everything that is affected by temperature is going to be affected. So sea surface temperature, the sea water temperature, our land temperature. You notice that we've seen pui flora in different times and all kind of thing too. All of those things are impacting as well. So pollen, if people are allergic to pollen, people are allergic to Sahara dust, people getting heat stroke, people not drinking enough water, getting dehydrated, salinity, you're not getting enough water. Because the reservoirs dry.
So many persons sick at the same
And staying
time.
home.
The increased amount or the burden on the healthcare system in terms of cost, like so much different things it has just from this thing.
Right. Now, Katrina, you mentioned climate change could be the reason that why we were having so many mosquitoes and the dengue and everything like that. And it brings me to think about the shark in Tobago. And no, hear me out. Because persons were saying that usually those sharks don't come to the shore. And other persons were saying, well, it's because of climate change. But what's your thoughts on that? Is that the case?
So I'm not a specialist in fish biology,
Okay,
right?
all right.
But I will say that there were a lot of different confounding variables within that shark attack that had to be seen. Yes, you're saying temperatures of the water, ocean currents are changing. It could have been a vast number of things that was probably chasing prey. Another thing is that somebody apparently, well, from what we understand,
Yeah.
somebody excavated some turtle nesting sites just down water from there.
Right.
So you never know if he was attracted to that.
Oh,
So there's a whole lot of
okay.
variables. We don't know if he was hungry. We don't know if he was sick. We don't know anything about the shark,
Well, I mean,
The
sure,
poor
that
shark
tastes
was
good.
just,
well,
the
I
shark
mean,
was in the water.
well, but, I mean, he was in his home.
Exactly.
He was in his home, but I remember that caused a heated debate, and persons were saying, climate change and all of this don't usually happen, and it was a whole panic attack for people online. And I know, I mean, you're Matrina, and I said, let me see if I can throw that out to you, just to get an idea, a sense of if that was really connected to climate change.
So
But-
the funny thing is, in human history, there's so many things that we still don't know about our planet, right?
Yeah.
So there are things that we're discovering every day. We don't know what exactly is tied to something happening. So that was like what you'd call a top event. That was something that extreme. That
Wow.
doesn't happen usually, right? So there's a whole host of things that could have gone, and yes, climate change impacts could have been one of them.
I went to Tobago about 2 weekends ago, and I did not step foot in the beach.
He's afraid of the shark?
Of course, I am.
That's a correct.
Listen, I am traumatized.
Wow.
I am traumatized, Tanarian.
We need
you
to
know
get
this
you
n-
some mental health.
I think so. Yeah. Some EAP or some kind of thing.
Oh,
But I
gosh.
mean, persons were having that debate, that discussion, and I say, let me just throw it out at you to see what you say about that.
Yeah, well, I heard Dr. Amrine say something about this dengue crisis that has me a little worried. The fact that it nearly crippled the public and private health sector.
Correct.
Can you elaborate a little more? How could such a minute thing like one specific disease like dengue cripple the system?
Sure. It might seem not as big, but let's just talk about like how dengues work, right? So you have a vector, which is a mode of transportation of the virus, which is the Aedes aegypti mosquito, right? Now, you have to be bitten by a mosquito that has the virus for you to become infected with it, right? And it spreads easily from basically biting someone who has the virus and then biting someone else and spreading it in that manner. Now, let's just talk about public, right? We could easily say that the public system, to some extent, is already overburdened. And if you add on top of that, every day, 20, 30, 40 more patients being drawn to the accident emergency as a result of they brushing their teeth and the gums start bleeding, or the fever is so intense they can't even function, right? And then a whole host of other symptoms that they will have, right? It grinds it to a standstill. Not to mention the resources that you require to basically handle something like that.
Right. So like blood testing and those different things, all those reagents would be used.
Correct. Everybody know the purple leaf. You need that. Right?
Well, yeah. We are
So
real purple.
the reason why is because your platelets, which is what are responsible for clotting, takes a big hit during the virus in most persons infected by it. And when it reaches down to a critical level is where you have to intervene because your risk of basically death, right, goes up exponentially. So a simple thing like taking a blood test, numerous health centers or even the hospitals ran out of the blood tubes required because of the increased demand basically.
Right. So is it that we were ill-equipped to handle something of this nature, or
Possibly.
is it mismanagement of funds that we didn't have it?
I think no, this is just my view. I mean, you are in the seat, Dr. Matt. Can I call you Dr.
You can
Matt,
call me
right?
Dr. Matt.
Right, I like Dr. Matt. It's easy to remember, right? But Doc, I think that we didn't have sufficient resources because we have been seeing a trend in the upscale of dengue illnesses, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the people who are in charge, they didn't foresee that, hey, listen, there's a crisis, let's see what we're gonna do, what can we get to
But
mitigate it.
you would expect after the COVID pandemic and the shortfall of resources that something like that would have been prepared for.
Well, I thought so.
What is it in Trinidad? When after 2 days pass, they don't think about
No.
it.
True.
That is
We have
so true.
we have a 2-day memory.
Yeah.
That's what we have.
Because
We are
that
goldfish memory.
it's not just dengue. It's
no
Zika.
no offense, Matrina. Okay.
Chikungunya, Zika. I mean, yeah, since 2016, really, you could tell that there have been so many different vector-borne diseases just skyrocketing. Yeah.
And you think that could be correlated with climate change?
Yeah, they even
Yeah.
say COVID. They even say COVID has something to do with climate change.
Well, I have my own personal views on
I
that.
have my theories on that as well.
I have my own personal views on that. But here's what: after we take the break, or maybe when we off here, we gonna talk about that. But when we come back from the break, because we have to go on a break in a short while, I want to find out if there's a correlation between climate change and non-communicable diseases. Am I correct?
NCDs,
Yeah,
yes.
I just want to see if there's a correlation between the two, because you said something that made me think, when you mention about diabetes and hypertension and, sometimes that's occupational illness. Was
Right.
it that? Yeah. So I just want to know if there's a correlation between the two. So when we come back from the break, we can discuss that right before the news. All right? So we have Dr. Matt and Katrina. We are here with This Is We the Youth. And what we discussing again today, Narian?
Our climate, our care.
Our climate, our care. So guys, it's just about 3:45, and this is where I take our break. When we come back, much more of the discussion, much more of your calls and your messages. Continue sending them to me. And don't forget, we have our 4 p.m. news coming up, courtesy Republic Bank Limited and Bag One Sings Hardware. We're going to take a quick one and be back. Keep it locked.
6.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation, speak your mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
The following is a paid political announcement.
We read and we ready the new chapter. The People's National Movement, where there's always good news.
I pledge to you as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, we are not touching the senior citizens' pensions, all public service pensions, all retired public servants who receive a public service pension will now receive that tax-free.
No need for tension. Everybody getting the pension.
The PNM not touching your pension. We're not taking your pension down. We're not shifting the goalpost. Your pension is safe with the PNM.
We responsible, very responsible. We read and we ready. Vote PNM.
We working together, we building together, and we'll make it better.
We paid for this political ad because we care about our seniors.
On April 28th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new talk radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM, where I'm joined by the lovely Carrie V.
Hi guys, afternoon. On my toes?
As we keep a company from 3 to 5 p.m.
I thought it was on my toes.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Just for 2 hours.
I find it should be 3.
You think so? We'll talk to management now and see what they're going to do for you.
But before the break, you had posed a very pertinent question to both our guests, the mermaid and the doctor.
Yeah. The Mermaid and the Doctor.
Yes.
I like how that sounds. Yeah.
The question was, what is the effects of climate change and NCDs?
Yeah, or what is the correlation between the both?
Right, so to be honest, it's not like climate change particularly causes NCDs, right? And for NCDs, for anybody want to know, is non-communicable diseases. The main ones being hypertension, which is high blood pressure, diabetes, right? But it does have a huge impact in terms of patient care due to climate change.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, I say the changing climate that Katrina was talking about earlier in terms of the healthcare system. So, we talk about the country being split in two when they have like flooding, right? You're unable to access your district health center or your hospital or so on, right? You run out of medication due to no access.
Yeah.
What goes on with your pressure, your sugar, all these different things? Your cholesterol is through the roof because we have no medication at all, right? And the focus then is more on like how we curb in this flooding, but not about the patients who suffer it as a result of this. And then we talk, is it prevention, right? Better than cure, in the sense that do we then try to curb these NCDs or maybe put things in place to help prevent climate change to avoid this from happening?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, climate can affect just even our food, right? So you know you are what you eat, right? So my sister's a dietitian, right? Didi, you know Didi, right? So she always talks about like how climate is going to impact our food availability in Trinidad because everything is imported, and we know this. What do we grow in Trinidad? We need to grow more of our local foods.
I agree completely.
You know, just yesterday we had that conversation about growing our own food and getting to export it. Because I mean, if we grow our own thing, we don't have to pay no money to get it inside here. It makes no sense. But as you mentioned, and of course you're correct, climate change will affect our produce. And what the effects of climate change on our produce, like how would that affect our health in terms of the NCDs? So like, let's say for instance, diabetes. Big up the type 1 diabetes on the outside, all right? Now, it's not something to celebrate, but however, we have it and we have to live with it, whether we like it or not, right? Putting that out there. But climate change and diabetes, the food that we grow, the produce, how does that affect, let's say, for instance, our sugar, whether it's going too high or our sugar is going too low? How would that, affect us?
Again, it's like, what do we have available to eat here? Is it coming from local sources or is it international? So it's either going to be from the port or produced here, right?
Mm-hmm.
If our port is shut down because a hurricane passing or something, I don't know if you remember Beryl last year, right?
Yeah.
So imagine that if that had hit Trinidad and we didn't have any importation of food, right? How are we supposed to eat? I mean, we're not even looking at that diabetes here now. We're just looking at eating.
Or even
right?
the imposed tariffs by these big countries right now.
Well, exactly. So all of these, well, I mean, that's not climate related.
No,
that's
but
political.
it's
true.
It's affecting
it is
how it is we're going to get food, and that is where the conversation is going.
Exactly. And then of course it bridges it to the medicine and what is available for us to
But would that also mean that we would look for alternative food, and the alternative food, even though it might be cheaper, it may not be good for our health? What do you say, Doc?
Well, the cheaper foods tend not to be good for your health. Just get that out there.
Wow. But it can cause some problems.
It definitely could cause some problems. Right? So people have this idea that it's just like organic is the only thing that we can eat, or that if they eat this sugar, they're going to cause diabetes. But realistically, sugar doesn't cause diabetes.
I try to tell people that, but they don't understand. But
you eat sugar every day and don't get diabetes.
Yeah.
Is the other things. Is the other things in the cake. Is the margarine and the fat and the oils that actually cause it.
So besides that, right? What else, for persons who are listening and who believes that if you eat 10 pounds of sugar a day, you'll get diabetes, right? No, we're not saying that, but it have some people out there believe that, and they're not eating anything sweet. Now, we minus in the soft drink and the snacks and them kind of thing, but it have people out there believes that if it is you drink tea with like about 5 spoons of sugar 5 times a day, you'll get diabetes. It have people out there believe that. So.
And that's why I say patient education
yes.
is a huge factor in this country. So, for example, this sugar talk that we have here, the sweet talk.
Sweetness.
Right? If you are diabetic,
right?
They say cut back on the sugars.
Right.
That's because your body can't handle the excess
amount,
sugar.
right? Yeah.
It worsens your diabetic control, so your sugar goes through the roof, and then that sugar is like a poison, is deposited everywhere, behind your eyes, on your kidneys, below your feet. That's why they say watch where you have to wear slippers when you walk in, right?
You can't get cut.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the thing is that is not really the sugar causing the diabetes. That's the point, right? Diabetes is something. So you make insulin from your pancreas, one of the organs in the abdomen.
Yeah.
Right. But the fat, this visceral fat, the little Michelin tire that a lot of people has been moving around with, right? That all of us have. That's a bigger role to play than eating the 5 tablespoons of sugar in your coffee anymore. To be honest.
Right. And we had a conversation with a doctor. What is a doctor or surgeon or something like that? We had a conversation with them, and I asked them, or was it a show? It could be a show, I was like, it's a program I was listening to, and my question was, they were talking about pancreatic cancer, and I'm saying for a diabetic who's a type 1 diabetic, remember the pancreas is no longer working.
Correct.
Why they can't just take out the pancreas if we had no need for it anymore? Because if the possibility exists where you could get pancreatic cancer, pull it out.
Carry that hard,
It's hard.
It's not easy to take out a pancreas.
I sure know you could do that, man, with the eyes closed.
Do you know what's the size of a pancreas?
Well, that's why we have the doctor here, so he will tell us.
Maybe you can tell us.
I can. So a pancreas is a pretty large organ, right, in the abdomen. And it's not easy to take out, Carrie. Like it connected to so many different areas within the abdomen. So when you think about pancreatic cancer, and if somebody is diabetic and it no longer functioning to produce insulin, take it out, throw it away, you're good to go.
You're gonna throw any garbage, call that
so
George. It's not so easy.
So much other things to consider.
Well, maybe it's my image of the pancreas that I had. I thought it was like something
small and
small.
little,
like
a the little thing. It does look like a little.
Tail.
Probably is the image I was watching. It was really small, but I mean, when climate change. Well, it's actually happening. Am I correct,
Yes.
Katrina?
Yes.
Right, it's actually happening, and persons, for some reason or the other, instead of turning towards our locally grown produce, we go to buy things on the outside, and that
Well,
can be harmful to our health.
I mean, what did you all have for breakfast this morning? I ate
I
one
don't- I
one
don't want to
pamarak.
answer that.
Well, what I ate, I ate lunch for breakfast. I love eating my lunch for breakfast.
I had a
Yeah.
doubles, maybe 2.
And Ariane,
I had 2 pies yesterday, if that counts.
So think about where all those ingredients are
I
coming
mean-
from, though. That's not even local because we don't produce flour here. We don't produce chickpeas here, you know. So all of those things are important. Next
Yeah,
thing
And
you know,
why is
But
that?
double's important though.
Doubles,
is so
the
important.
national
I
dish of
agree.
Trinidad and
I
Tobago.
agree.
Why
Yes.
don't we produce the very things that we use to make it?
yeah, let's answer that question.
We'll answer that question after we come back from the news. We'll do that. We'll do that. But I think we have time again for about one more question with a quick answer, Anarian.
So I want to get more in depth into the policies and things like that, Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want that conversation to be missed. So just to recap here on We the Youth, we're discussing.
Before you dear Anarian, I want to say good afternoon going out to Dr. Andrew Danu, the president of the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago. He's locked on. He said there are many other functions that the pancreas still doesn't. Lots of other hormones and enzymes that are still produced even with type 1 diabetes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Danu. Dr. Danu is a boss, you know. I like him too bad. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
So as I was saying to our listeners, and thank you for locking in, Doctor. We're glad to have you. And those else who are here, Carrie will remind you of the numbers to send messages to. We're discussing our health, our climate, our care, our planet. People, do stay tuned as we continue within the second hour, where it is we take your calls and we get interactive.
Of course, no problem. So, guys, it's just about 1 minute to 4. We have our 4 p.m. news coming up next. The courtesy Bag 16 Hardware and Republic Bank Limited. Keep it locked.
We are Take Control, the all-new talk radio, Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network, included sister stations, Vibe City 105 FM, Sangeet 106.1 FM, 95 The Ultimate One, Sky 99.5 FM, and Islam 100.5 FM. This is the 4 p.m. news, courtesy Bag 16 Hardware and Republic Bank Limited.
Good afternoon. I'm Jensen Laven with headline news on CNC3 Guardian and the TBC Radio Network. The United National Congress has fired back against allegations that it is using cash, alcohol, and marijuana to gain the votes of young people in the Aranguez St. Joseph community. The claim was made by incumbent MP Terence Dialsing, who said 2 black vehicles were facilitating the transaction. However, his rival to the seat, Devesh Maharaj, not only denied the accusation, but said that Dialsing is fabricating stories because he cannot comprehend that the youth vote in his constituency is willingly going to the UNC. Meanwhile, Anna Roberts asked Dialsing why he could not provide substantial evidence to prove he is telling the truth.
Terence, what's the number plate? You didn't see the number plate? You see Rude Boy, Hennessy, Bullet. He see Bullet, but he didn't see the number plate. Look, Terence, give me a chance. It's big people with this man.
Finance Minister Vishnu Dampol says once re-elected, the PNM government may increase the senior citizens grant if there is fiscal space. Speaking to reporters at the opening of the National Insurance Board's new corporate office in San Fernando today, Dampol also promised faster disbursement of funds from the Finance Ministry to pay school cleaners and maxi-taxi concessionaries. Asked to comment on adjustments to old age pension, Dampol says the grant will remain unchanged unless revenue allows for an increase. And while UNC leader Kamla Prasad Bisesa says government plans to stop senior citizens with over $25,000 in savings from getting the grant on their proposed bill in Parliament, Dan Paul says means testing will continue.
You can't expect that everyone to the 65, someone with another form of income, to get the grant. Not everyone who turns 65 could get well, let's call it a senior citizen pension. Not everyone turning 65 could get that. Obviously, it has to be mean tested, because you don't want millionaires getting a senior citizen grant.
The chairman of the Council for Responsible Political Behavior notes that political parties have adopted a more respectful tone in their platform speeches compared to previous elections. However, Dr. Bishnu Raghunath says despite the marked improvement in the rhetoric exchange between political opponents, the council is concerned over reports of vandalism during the ground campaign. Sharing a snapshot of his findings, Dr. Raghunath says members of the council have been assessing the election campaign and will release a detailed report.
We noted that to a large extent this election campaign has been cleaner than in the past in terms of what was being said on the platform. The ground campaign is a different thing altogether. There have been lapses, but the lapses have been in terms of some language as well as some, and then there was the vandalism that we have to talk about.
This has been Headline News. Look out for another news update at the top of the hour.
And that was the 4 p.m. news on Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and the best network. The 4 p.m. news was courtesy Bhagwan Singh's Hardware and Republic Bank Limited.
Building our dream home is driving me crazy.
James, take a breath. I have the solution. Bhagwan Singh's Port of Spain and Chaguanas has got everything we need, all in one place.
Like what?
Everything. Gorgeous tiles, kitchen sinks, faucets.
Oh, and we can upgrade the bathrooms with new toilet sets and bathroom cabinets.
Plus, we can add style with lighting, moldings, and doors.
And practical stuff like curtain rods and storage solutions.
Bhagwan Singh's has it all in one place for the highest quality at prices we can afford.
Bhagwan Singh's Port of Spain and Chaguanas, building value every day.
That email or SMS seems suspicious. Be aware of its intent, could be vicious. That phone call or voice note sounds too serious. Too good to be true, probably fictitious. Don't be fooled by online imposters, promising things that are gonna cost ya. Be aware, protect your data and money. Stay aware, stay alert, stay secure.
You can outsmart the scammers. A message from Republic Bank. Report any suspicious activity to customer care at rfhl.com.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, 106.5 FM. Your solution for current affairs and talk. Join the conversation today as we build a better nation. Insightful discussions and interviews on national progress, the latest developments, and governance plus corporate social responsibility. Freedom 106.5 FM gives you a voice. Freedom to inspire. Freedom to change. Speak your mind with Freedom 106.5 FM. Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation, speak your mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM. Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new talk radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
Welcome back. Trinidad and Tobago, this is Freedom 106.5 FM. Carrie V is here. I'm in the company. You know this is We the Youth. Oh yeah, we're going all the way to 5 p.m. It's just about 6 minutes after 4. We have a call, but before we take the call, should I take this call first? What do you say?
Take the call.
Take the call. We'll take the call first. Let's take the call. Let's see who's there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Line 2. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to the panel there.
Turbasa Trace, talk to us.
With your permission,
The Rasa is sung in real soft, you know.
Yeah, well, it's
Nice,
the phone
better.
I'm using all the time.
Better.
Yeah.
Talk to
So,
us.
with your permission, I'm going to ask the doctor a question about diabetes.
No problem.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, 18 years ago, I found out I was diabetic. I had not been tested before. I'm 65 now, so I was 47. Since then, I have come to fear sugar and other high glycemic foods on the grounds that they turn quickly into fat. If you're diabetic, it doesn't turn quickly into fat, in which case your sugar rises, which is bad for you. But if you take your tablets and so on, it turns quickly into fat. And fat, when you become overweight, you become diabetic over time, a lot of people. So I am saying that in these 18 years, I could have easily not lost, well, in the last 2 years after I've, developed strategies and so on, I've lost 50 pounds from 220 to 170.
That's excellent. That's
I am
so
just
good.
saying that I could have eaten 50 pounds of sugar in that time and not lost a gram of weight. So
No.
I want your comment on that.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
no. That's
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
Right, so I understand what you're saying. We made a joke about in terms that you can eat as much sugar as you want, but that's actually not healthy at all to do. So we wouldn't advocate for that at all.
Correct.
But you're right. So diabetes as a illness has a lot of different facets, and then like there are people who do understand exactly what it is because there's a lot of hearsay as well in terms of the illness, right? So you mentioned to me that you were diagnosed with diabetes some years ago. And you lost 50 pounds, and that's excellent. That actually would have played a huge factor in terms of you having a better control of your diabetes, right, and reduce the worsening of the symptoms that you would have down the road from there. But I remember the question I believe was if I could have eaten and whatever I wanted for that period of time.
What I asked persons have been saying, and even some of our listeners, they are thinking that, if they eat a pound of sugar, it's not a pound of sugar, but if they continue putting a lot of sugar in their coffee every morning for however long, that would make them get diabetes. And what you mentioned is that, constantly consuming sugar doesn't necessarily mean that you would get diabetes from consuming so much sugar.
And sugar is only one thing, right?
Yeah, and then you mentioned that it have other factors to how you can get diabetes. So, sometimes some of them does hear different. Just saying.
The Caribbean food groups. This is what we have to educate on as well.
So someone wants to know, Dr. Matt, your specialty, your general
I am a general practitioner with a keen interest in occupational medicine and then subsequently non-communicable diseases and the impact that it does have on the workplace and the greater population at large.
Thank you. But thank you so much, Riaz, for that question. And Ariane is just stroll back in. Your floor.
Welcome back.
Yes,
Thank
welcome.
you for having me.
Welcome back, Anarian. Thank you for being here with us today. Yeah, until 5.
Yes, maybe until 6. Depending on how the conversation goes.
But all right, producer.
Going out, Dr. Matt. Well, as I know him, Dr. Ramirez. In the public healthcare, there's a lot of things like long wait times, no beds, things like that. Why is it do we continuously see those challenges even though every year billions are being spent?
So I wouldn't knock the public healthcare system, right? They do a lot of good for the population at large. And you have to remember that all you're going to see is the negative or are the negative things attributed to the healthcare system. So you're going to see, I wait 8 hours or wait 12 hours to get a bed. But there are persons who benefit a lot from there. And to be honest, like, it's really just to maybe put things in place, some policies in place to better manage the resources that we have within the healthcare system that can probably reduce these wait times that persons have, increase the bed space or better bed management. And we could further talk about this later on in terms of how digitalization and those things will help to make a big difference in terms of this management.
All right. And what about you, Katrina, in regards to policies that exist in the realm of climate change?
So it's very interesting because climate falls under the Ministry of Planning and Development, right? And there's a whole section that is like focusing on these international treaties that we're signing on to. You all heard about the Paris Agreement and all the things that are going to impact Trinidad and Tobago and our, emissions, right? In terms of our legislation on the whole needs a lot of revisions, which maybe not happening as quickly as they can, but we know that the people who are in office are trying their best to do all of these things within our own constraints. And funnily enough, no legislation in Trinidad other than the EM Act states climate. There's no other, And then our climate.
That is not true.
Is it?
No, I'm just being not facetious. I'm being surprised that is only the EMA Act.
The Environmental Management Act is the only act that states climate, the word climate, and says what it is. So, and it's within the environment itself that the environment has climate as part of it.
Things like oil spills and they don't have that in it.
You see, that's more industrial
yeah, but
wastes
I mean
and stuff like that. So that's like environmental permitting and those kinds of So I see your point. It is a lot to unpack there in terms of like how we are, presenting ourselves as, the decisions that can happen through our policies and stuff like that. So we do have the climate change policy that was drafted in 2011. Imagine that. We also have a just transition policy, which is what I have been advocating towards, which is kind of like transitioning us away from just fossil fuel production towards that, renewable energy future that we all see as this, wonderful utopic thought of the future.
So how can young people sign on to that?
So that's where education is first. You have to have that foundation of wanting to get there with the decision makers as well. But the education, and we have the internet now. I mean, when I was little, we didn't really have. Okay, I know I'm an older youth. I was telling you, right? We didn't have the internet. We have so much information now. I was on like Encarta Encyclopedia and thing earlier.
So you had the whole chest of encyclopedias, right?
Nah, just the one. Just the one on life sciences.
I want to check on something. I know we have some voice notes to play, and we want to see if we get that in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's see. Let's go. Have some voice notes, and guys, don't forget you can get in touch. You can send us a message via WhatsApp 306-1065, and of course you can give us a call. We will be taking calls at 627-3223 or 625-2257. Yeah, so let's get this voice note in. Let's go.
Good afternoon, Dorbasa here. Let me clarify. I was saying that in the period of time it took me to lose 50 pounds, which was about 2 years, I could have eaten 50 pounds of sugar if I had allowed myself. And that would not have allowed me to lose 50 pounds because it would have been converted into fat largely and prevented me from doing my programs and so on. I'm just saying that if you can cut out sugar, which you really don't need, it's always a good thing. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
What he's getting to there is the fact of discipline. Yeah, the discipline of staying away from the sugar.
I think what we did is that when we first started the show, we was kind of hinting that sugar doesn't cause it. Eat as much sugar as you want, but that's not true. So we're gonna take it back a little bit. That Mr. Dobasa, that's a real good statement that I made there. We're not advocating for people to just eat sugar excessively. I mean, we're not dietitians. I think Katrina's sister will give a better idea, but a balanced diet is what really would make a difference. I'm sure there's a lot of exercise that went into play for the gentleman to lose that amount. 50 pounds is really, really good in such short space of time.
Yeah, I'm seeing the line ringing, but I have to go on a break. So what I'll do, I'll take the call because I like calls, and then we'll go to the break.
Sure.
How about that? Let's see who's there.
Good afternoon and welcome to We the Youth.
Hi, good afternoon. You live?
Is this the
Freedom 106?
106.5?
But of course, you get the right number. Talk to us. What do you have to say to us?
Well, I have a question for Dr. Matt.
Yes, Dr. Matt.
Glad to help. Tell me the question, sir.
Dr. Matt, my wife does tell me that I is a sweet man.
Bombo
a voice
right
like that.
I want to know if she at risk for diabetes.
Why you had to get on so? Why you had to get on so? Why you had to get on so? Listen, you see what I want to go and break? Possibly, yeah? Possibly. Because if you're a sweet man, what she doing with you? What she doing with you if you're a sweet man? All right. So we're going to take that break and be back, all right? Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 3061065. And when we come back from the break, we're going to be taking your calls. So yeah, keep it locked.
Come April 28th, citizens will head to the polls in an historic general election.
It's time for the people to decide which party will take the reins of government for the next 5 years.
Every voice matters, every vote counts.
From education to healthcare, to jobs and security, the election outcome will affect lives for generations to come.
Guardian Media is on the beat. We're in the communities, at political rallies,
with expert analysis on the marginals that will make the difference.
We'll be tracking the highs and lows of campaign 2025 as parties battle for power.
When TNT decides, Guardian Media delivers results.
When we come together for a common cause, we do more than help. We move a nation because united is the way. This year, volunteer with your company for United Way's Day of Caring on Sunday, May 18th to create lasting change. One school, one child, one community at a time. Or donate towards this cause at uwtt.com. It isn't just today. It's a movement for a stronger, more caring Trinidad and Tobago. United is the way. Find out more at uwtt.com.
Tune in to Betterments with host Space, Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. for a program that educates and is solution-based. Space tackles the issues that matter to you, providing a platform to speak your mind and find solutions. That's Betterments with Base, with a focus on education and resolution. This is all about making things better for you. You can reach us via phone and WhatsApp to share your thoughts and find solutions to the issues that matter to you. So if you want to make a difference and have your voice heard, tune into Freedom 106.5 FM and join us for Betterments with Base, Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Better for you. Only on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we believe that your voice matters. This April, Freedom 106.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
Coming from sold out houses in Port of Spain, CPR Productions presents 7-Year San Fernando, it's your turn. One night, one show. Now Prima Bowl, Sunday 4th May, 6:30 p.m. This so much trying to cramp my style over. I know I would have win Diego Martin's seat. Hands down. 7-Year, it stars Cecilia, Brody, Penny, Saran, Kevon, and Siobhan. Tickets available at Antonio's Floral Val Park Shopping Plaza, K-Squared Stores, Brentwood Mall, and C3 Center. Ateliers by the park and Island e-tickets online.
Box office open Thursday, the 1st of May. Call 466-3111 or 683-4843 for information and bookings.
7-Year itch, one show. Sando, don't miss it.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we're discussing our planet and our people, our care and our climate. So, Katrina, if for a moment you can close your eyes and there's no holes, no bars or anything, and you can envision a policy that makes TNT better in the realm of climate change, what would that policy be?
It would be the just transition policy. So it's currently in draft. And it is basically a pathway for us to get to that clean energy future. And it's not going to leave anybody behind, you know. It's not going to say like, oh, we shut down all the oil production one time, right? Because that is crazy.
But we could use the oil production and the gas as export.
Exactly.
And we could make money.
So the way that the just transition policy is supposed to work is that everything works in a smooth, nice, seamless flow. Nobody's going to be left behind. You're going to train your people for the future jobs. You're going to put the future jobs in place. You're going to put the future infrastructure in place today with the money that we have today. That is it. Yeah.
Okay. And Dr. M9, we were discussing all the challenges or some of the challenges that the public
the healthcare system in Trinidad, like the challenges that they face.
You wanna stick up in there whilst we take the score?
Sure.
Yeah, let's see who's there.
Oh, welcome. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. I believe that the topic is on climate change.
Climate change and healthcare.
Okay. I just like to add, there need to be more information out there with regarding climate change of the do's and don'ts. I have been involved with the ozone unit of Trinidad and Tobago with the dispensation of chlorofluorinated carbon in the atmosphere. And we have done some work since 2014. However, the corporate responsibility of larger companies in supporting these issues is not really there. I was in an industry where certain gases is used for fumigants, and when I went to certain conferences and asked about what we are doing about the alternative, the answer you get coming back is not how we get rid of it, it's how we can get more of it. And just imagine, let me give you an example. Carton boxes that are to be shipped out of Trinidad has to be fumigated to go to Europe or the US. They are the same people who sign about the use of a particular fumigant, methobromide namely, but the Quarantine Department International is requesting that these boxes or wooden pallets be fumigated with methobromide, when in fact there are alternatives. The ozone unit through Dr. Gori has supported the air conditioning industry immensely by changing the type of gas, supplying new equipment, but that is just a drop that could be done. We need much more support. I advise people do not burn Styrotech, do not burn plastic in the atmosphere because it creates problems for us.
Right.
So we need that more education. As much I contribute in whatever way that I can, being in the fumigation industry.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Everybody, thanks so much for your call.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah. So that is actually very interesting, and he is doing a lot of good work, right?
Wow.
So the
Hats off to
Basel
you.
Convention. So we are signed on to the Basel Convention, and they in Trinidad actually, and they're doing a lot of work with that as well. So education-wise, you see, it's like an ecosystem.
Right.
We have to have government, public sector, private sector, and civil society all working together towards building that foundation of education.
But how can we do that?
Well, right. So we have to make sure that the people who know are given the voice. So you all letting me come today to talk. This is amazing because you're giving us the opportunity to speak to people like this who are doing the work on the ground and who know that we need more education, right? So say, for example, like he said, burning anything.
Yeah.
Why are we burning anything? We don't need to burn wood for heat. You know,
true.
We're not in those days anymore.
Because
right?
the place done hot.
Right.
the place done hot.
But we don't know what we're doing. And that is a great reason for education.
Let's take another call. Let's see who's there. Hello, good afternoon.
Pleasant afternoon, Carrie.
Hey, protest man in the house, man. What's up? Talk to us.
Yeah. But what the guy said there is real because single-use plastic is the most detrimental to the planet. Environment, marine life, the air pollution, the toxic. You know, because even Guyana banned Starro, you know. They're more advanced in the environment than us.
I remember we had a ban on the not plastics but the styrofoam. But then the unfortunate thing is it come back on.
Yeah, because
so who really policing that?
We don't be serious because we're not being
9 days protest man. 9 days we have 9 days.
Like making boxes with grease proof. Bringing back to the glass bottles. These things recyclable, it environment friendly.
Yeah.
It deteriorate in the environment without harming the earth.
Yeah. All right, protest man. Thanks so much.
So basically, what you're saying there is exactly it as well, right? We used to exist without plastic, right? And we were still okay. My grandmother is 93, and she for some reason cannot remember what it was like, right? But everything was brown paper and glass. Right?
I remember the brown paper bags though. I remember that.
So the thing is we have to go back to basics.
What do you really think? Like honestly, I put all our cards on the table. Do you really think that these people here in Trinidad and Tobago, we wayward people, and I say
that is true. But
how can we get them to change their mindset?
Because if we see that it costs better to be more eco-friendly and
it costs better, would it make me spend less money?
It might. It is that we all take the change. Remember, we all have a responsibility to play, but we also have the decision makers.
And the people who play in hardball, people who adamant that, hey, I have no time for all this, you know, I just really had to go and find food for my table and thing, you know.
Well, if it's not available,
how we reaching them?
If the single-use plastic's not available to buy anymore, we have to figure out something else.
No, but the same thing like with health, the cheaper something else, the worse it is for you. Single-use plastics are more affordable than wooden spoons and forks.
Which doesn't make sense.
Which doesn't make sense because you have to manufacture.
So what about silverware?
No, but think about it. You had to bring oil out to the ground, refine it, and then make plastic.
Wooden spoons.
Yeah,
I just thought about it.
I went to to a convention last year. I'm not going to call whose it was because
please don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were given lunches in biodegradable bowls.
Right.
With wooden knife and fork.
And Ariane come down from there. What are you saying?
I am telling you.
You still have it?
I still have the fork.
Okay, all right. But I like the idea of having silverware. You know, now, I know some people skeptical about having a silverware knife because, you know, people a little violent these days. And I know that for sure. You laughing, I serious, right? But
that was the problem with glass, you know.
Well, true.
Which is unfortunate because glass is infinitely recyclable. It is wonderful.
It is. But then they're trying to take out glass and put can. But people still throwing away the cans and are recycling cans. So we really had to come up with a way where it's going to be safe for us all and recycle at the same time.
So you see, we're going into waste management too. So we're seeing how climate permeates into every single thing. And so does health, Health, climate, everything. The human condition.
Wow. 4:30. Gonna take a break and come back? Yeah. I have let me see if I can read out this message here. Carrie V, a machine for the public to use that will give them money when they put in their plastic bottles. A machine for the public to use that will give them what incentivize the thing. Yes, thank you, Anarian. I'm glad you're here today. You know, I'm glad you're here today. But yeah, we could do that. Pay people to recycle. We like money. Always a win-win.
It's the same thing like scrap iron. You scrap iron, people pay you for your scrap iron.
Yeah, so that would be a real good idea. I wonder if I could come up with something like that. That kind of business, but then what do with the plastic? What do with it?
I probably I could. Business and
I looking for it. Yesterday I wanted to make a skirt out of the coconut leaves, and I would look damn good in it. I'm telling you, and Arian too, and you too, Katrina. You know what? We ain't forgetting you, Dr. Man. Don't worry about it. I have a probably like a top piece, so not a skirt. But anyway, guys, this is We the Youth. A new program for the youth, by the youth, and of the youth. And we're going to take a really quick one and be back. So, you sending me those messages via WhatsApp. I touched that by mistake. 4:31. That's my time check. We're going to take a break and be back. Keep it locked.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Is UNC a coalition or confusion? This election we big and we have to make sense. Watch the whole scene.
Ragbir, gone. Christine Nawala Hussein, gone. Colin Partap, Dennis Rambali, Joel D'Souza, Larry Lala, Victor Roberts, Marsha Walker, and almost just now, the UNC have no members because all of them...
That is not coalition. That is confusion. I don't know how Kamala sleeping in the night.
There is a long, long list of persons who are leaving the UNC. They are leaving by droves.
You see this wrongs? We voting for stability, experience, real programs, proper management. Reject bacchanal, reject confusion. The code is, you're big and you have sense. You have one choice. We ready, and responsible. Vote PNM. PNM is the plan. Of course we paid for this political ad, but it's valuable information you could use.
That was a paid political announcement.
So grateful for this precious life. Embrace it with a fearless stride. Dig so deep to turn your dreams to reality. With a bright future on your side, through every journey you will find what you've earned and accomplished. You now deserve to be. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Only you can pave the road for your legacy. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Every step is one step closer to live easy. Life, health insurance, and pension solutions. Embrace life with Guardian Life.
Children need supervision while on the internet. It is a very useful tool in today's modern world. It can be used in a variety of ways to enhance a child's education, as well as for fun activities such as games and reading. However, the internet can also be a very unsafe place with content that is inappropriate for children. Many dangerous situations can occur, such as children being lured by predators. Use filters or block websites to make the internet safe in your home and establish family rules for internet usage. Child protection is everybody's business.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
The following is a paid political announcement.
We read and we ready the new chapter. The People's National Movement, where there's always good news.
I pledge to you as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, we are not touching the senior citizens' pensions, all public service pensions, all retired public servants who receive a public service pension will now receive that tax-free.
No need for tension. Everybody getting the pension.
The PNM not touching your pension. We're not taking your pension down. We're not shifting the goalpost. Your pension is safe with the PNM.
We responsible, very responsible. We read and we ready. Vote PNM.
We working together, we building together, and we'll make it better.
We paid for this political ad because we care about our seniors.
On April 28th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new talk radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM, where you can join us every day from 3 to 5 p.m. And as we're getting into stuff, I want to pose a question to Dr. Ramnarayan. Doc, with the amount of challenges we have right now and where you envision Trinidad and Tobago, where we should be, those gaps that exist, What would you say are those gaps, and how can we solve those gaps in the healthcare?
So we need to look and see what the gaps are first, though, right? A big major problem that people have is the overcrowding in the healthcare, right? In terms of hospitals and the long wait times that they will have, they are also now brought to the light. Medication and supply shortages are also very common. We have understaffing in terms of the hospitals and the health centers. Not only doctors, we're talking about nurses, other healthcare workers.
Yeah, remember the nurse, she mentioned that yesterday as well, the short staff.
Yes, Miss Palto.
correct.
Yeah.
With the brain drain that we have
Yep,
right now in terms of people
correct. Yeah.
we could touch on that as well in terms of what we have in place in order to like train new healthcare workers or employees on the whole, and how to help them to specialize so that way they don't remain in this general pool, right? And could focus more on specialized areas within different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that have to be a thing because both Dr. Amrain and Mrs. Palto mentioned that specialization yesterday.
Yeah.
It's becoming a huge thing now in the sense that there are large gaps in terms of basically the workforce, right? So yes, you could have a generalized workforce, but there's a big need for specialized care as well.
Right.
And there's a huge deficit in terms of a lack of specialized care. I was listening to the show yesterday, and they was talking about in terms of nursing, geriatric nursing, and all these different avenues that people could look into. But what training areas or what policies are being put into place to train the staff and help them specialize and help put them out into the workforce?
And even as I mentioned yesterday, when I graduated with my BA in 2016, there were a lot, the whole right side of the whole with nurses. And I say, but how we could be short-staffed of nurses? But then again, when they go outside, or even because they just be recruiting our nurses here, right? They getting a better deal, and they getting the whether it's the salary, whether it's the benefits they getting, and they will go outside there. And how can we blame them? Because if you can't even get a job as a nurse or a doctor here easily, why would I want to stay here? I would go out there and practice and do better and be better out there, so I guess this is an overall problem.
The whole idea of going away to train to come back as well, like what basically is pulling them back here when they leave, and they could just stay there and probably have a better standard of living in a different country, in a first world country.
Correct.
So we need to incentivize proper education and proper jobs down here.
I think it should be getting the jobs easily, or the jobs are easily accessible. So like, as I graduate from school with nursing, I don't know if it have some kind of bar or something that you have to pass.
That is law.
No, but I call it a bar, but it have a nursing something that you have, some exam that you have to do or something like that. As you get 100 out of 100 or 90 out of, or you pass the scores, all right, cool. You going by San Fernando General Hospital, or grab of you going in Sangre Grande region, like that now, but it's not that way.
That's HR planning. That's knowing what it is that we need.
Succession planning too, and whose fault is that? Not mine.
Well, it's not mine either.
It's not yours, but I know whose fault it is.
I do know of an office that deals only with personnel.
In the healthcare system?
No, throughout the whole government.
So use the person we have to talk to then.
Yeah, come talk to me.
All right. But as you see, we having this problem, and I don't understand why we here are the only ones who understand and know that this is a big problem. What happened to the guys who, or the bigwigs, as I just call them, so they are not seeing this problem? Is something wrong with their lenses? Something wrong with their eyes? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, we need to incentivize where the gaps are in the workforce, right? So, for example, when you have a lot of persons graduating and they're doing a plethora of degrees, right? Where's the need for those degrees in the workforce? Maybe we need to look at that first, right? What professions or what jobs do we need? And then how we could incentivize the persons who would like to pursue those things to do it. And then, what's the point of studying? Not to retain a job or some sort of income?
No, a psychologist, right? And please clear this up for me if you all can. A psychologist is someone who can be like a school counselor.
Yes.
Can they? More or less, right? Why we have one counselor for 10, 12 schools? Why?
There's a good question.
Why?
You
And we
see-
have so much psychology students graduating with the degrees.
No, I am not afraid, so I will say what I think
One
is
thing
happening.
get me in trouble. Okay,
I will say
alright.
what I think is happening. That's radio friendly. So, the big degrees that people go out are medicine, law, engineering.
Yes.
Let's look at just those three.
Mm-hmm.
After you graduate with those degrees, you can go and work for the public sector or the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
But what a lot of people do is they go into their own business.
Okay.
So you're gonna find the DPP's office being lacking lawyers, whereas anywhere you throw a coin, you find a law firm, where you find a lawyer's office or an attorney at law. And same thing for medicine. So doctors go, they serve their time in the areas, nurses too, and then they go to private, where they make more money than in the public sector.
So is it in the public sector?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, a doctor's salary, I'm just using random figures.
Stick up in there. You see when we talking, when we having these kind of conversation, my time does run out. Guys, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a really quick one. It's not too long. It's kind of short. All right. So we're gonna take a break. Stick up in there for me and Ariane. When we come back, we're gonna be continuing this discussion. So if you're not joining us, good afternoon, guys. Freedom 106.5 FM, and this is We the Youth. When we come back, so much more. Keep it locked.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This election, vote for realness. Vote for real programs with real results. Vote PNM because they're taking care of the youths in a real way.
Go on the ministry website and you will see that we have the Youth Agriculture Homestead Program, the Youth Agricultural Shade House Program, the Youth Aquaculture Program, the Community Business Shade House Program, the Drive Program for automotive servicing.
My youth, no matter what you want to get into to better yourself, PNM have a program.
The Youth Tech Program for the soft skills in barbering, nail tech, cosmetology. Then we have the CRISP program, air conditioning and refrigeration. And we're taking the career caravan and we are coming into your community wherever you are.
That is performance. So to all the youths, this election, we voting for your future. We ready and responsible. Vote PNM. My youth, we paid for this political ad just for you.
On April 28th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement. The following is a paid political announcement.
It's voting time. And know all you big and all you have sense. So ask the right question. Kamla, how you just sleep at night? With Philip Alexander in UNC bed?
People don't want nothing to do with these bandits.
Facts.
They don't want the UNC.
Now your UNC base vex. I sure you can't sleep at night.
Kamla know her day over. You have to know it too. UNC there, they bust, they mash up.
Kamla, you know who you in bed with?
It have plenty more around here.
When she looks to her right, she sees Ansel Roger, who dragged an effigy of her through the streets, calling her all manner of names in the process.
When you're lying in a UNC bed, I sure you can't sleep. You never know the backstabbers. That is a recipe for disaster.
No lies.
All you big and all you have sense. You have one choice this election.
Be ready, and be responsible.
Of course, this is a paid political announcement, but it's the truth.
Duh.
On April 28th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new Talk Radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM, where I'm joined by the lovely Carrie V.
Hello, guys.
Every day from 3 to 5 p.m. Or is it that I'm joining her?
I think you're joining me, you're right there. You're just like there.
Yeah.
You're joining me. Next time you come in, bring things to eat and drink.
You know,
not for inside here, okay? For the cameras that are around. We don't eat and drink in here, but we can do it outside of here.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
Okay. Just
and
so anybody else
in
listening.
studio with us today, Carrie, is two very lovely young people.
Amazing people, I love them.
Dr. Matthew Ramnaran.
Hello.
And Miss Katrina Can Roberts.
Roberts.
I got that correct.
You did.
It's not like yesterday. But Matthew, with regards to what we were talking about with the gaps between where we want to be in the healthcare and where we are, what solutions do you see coming forward?
I find me talking a lot about the problems and no real solution to it.
So in this atmosphere, this heightened atmosphere that we are in, have you heard anything to make you say, yes, this is something I can look forward to?
Well, I mean, like, technology is going to play a huge role going forward in healthcare, as it would in any other industry in the country, right? And investing in digital health infrastructure, which is what they're doing right now, don't get me wrong. So, for example, if you go, and I know this for Southwest Regional, if you go into a accident and emergency or casualty, as they say, right? You go to a district health facility like Siparia, and the doctor sees you, the nurses see you, they put your notes on the system that they have. Did you know actually they could pull your records when you're transferred to San Fernando or Point Fortin? And it's not just that, right? It's not just the time that it's going to save from not having to re-ask the same questions, do over the same things. You know, you could attend to somebody much quicker, but also the resources that you save as well. Because if you think about it, right? If and you were to go to Siparia and I was there and I take your blood and we test it and we have results, right?
Right.
Am I putting that paper on your lap with the ambulance to go up?
No.
Not sure, right? Probably lost. So when we go to San Fernando or Point Fortin, guess what? We taking back the same bloods.
Right.
And you might think, well, that's not a big deal. We take back the blood. But imagine how much times that is going to occur.
Yeah.
And there's a cost for everything. Not just the cost of the test, but also the cost of the person who's running the test, right? The cost of the reagents for the test,
right?
The time it takes to wait for those results before you can attend to the patient, and that has down trickling issues that arises, such as lengthy time or lengthy stays in the hospital, because beds are a problem, we know that for sure.
Right.
Wait times are a problem, and we know that for sure. So the quicker that we could attend to a patient, and the quicker that we could get some sort of idea as to how we're going to treat them, is the quicker we're going to basically get the patient better and back home with their families.
Right. And you say that's actually happening right now?
Yeah, it is. Right. And I can't speak for the other regional, the other RHAs, but I know for sure it is taking place right now, and they are looking to basically move that not only within the accident and emergency setting, but other areas of the hospital as well. Right. And the thing is, it does take a little while, right? So it will be a little bit lengthy when you're now implementing this, but as anything would when you're now implementing a new system, it has the little teeth and problems that they have. Once we get the ball rolling, you'll see how huge an impact this is going to have in terms of reducing all these problems that they have in many different areas in the hospital.
Okay. Any other solutions to fill those gaps? Because, I mean, transformation is one. What about implementation of these different things? So, for example, I know San Fernando might be able to do some of the things that Mount Hope may be able to do. Are there plans to put things in place across that different RHA?
Well, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see, but I think there should be, because they shouldn't have basically one hospital alone being able to do one sort of procedure.
Right.
If there's a large volume of persons requiring it. So, for example, a small volume, we could have a small section, because Trinidad is pretty accessible, so you go across the Mount Hope, you go across the Port of Spain to get this particular procedure done, no problem. But for the major things that we have, right, in terms of just bare basic things that we need in the healthcare system, we do need that across different areas of the country. Not just in the hospitals, but maybe into the local health centers and district health centers. And we're going to touch on the NCDs, right?
Right. So
we talk prevention is better than cure.
Right.
And if we do make a change early enough in terms of the education of the public, preventing these illnesses such as diabetes and hypertension is going to have a big role down the road in terms of reducing the burden on the healthcare system. Because you will be shocked to see how much things end up in the hospital as a result of uncontrolled diabetes, as a result of uncontrolled hypertension. Cholesterol really high, heart disease is also prevalent in Trinidad and Tobago. And if we could actually prevent those things from early by teaching persons the better way to eat, the importance of exercise, not living a sedentary lifestyle, right? Importance of taking certain medications, right? Early screening for these patients or these persons, you'll notice how big of an impact this is going to have in the hospital or on the healthcare system in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right. And if I remember correctly, the last budget we had, healthcare was like the second highest.
Yeah, I think first was education, then.
Right. And a lot of people just see these big exorbitant figures, but what they don't understand is the fact that there's recurring expenditures. So like maintenance, paying staff, and a big part of that a lot of people may not know is the fact that we do pharmaceuticals, because a lot of persons can get medication through the CDAP program.
Yeah, not only the CDAP program, but there are a lot of other medication available in the hospital itself that you get when you discharge from the hospital. I mean, persons do get a bit upset because, you know, you get a prescription, you see nil in red because they're not readily available, and some of those are really, really costly. But maybe we could help manage this by having a better inventory system, some more checks and balances in the system to make sure that the medication that the government is paying for, that is reaching the hospital, actually gets to the patients, right?
Right, and then also by reducing NCDs and the reliance on these medications.
Will reduce the cost burden, I would say, in terms of having to purchase this medication in such a large volume, because people probably just won't need it anymore, or there'll be a smaller number of persons requiring this.
Well, yeah, I could understand that. So then we need educational campaigns surrounding health.
Straight across the country, we need this. We need this from primary school, go all the way up.
Right.
Right? Because that's where you're going to see the shift.
Well, it can happen with you or I or persons who, I mean, it could possibly happen with younger people now, but it ain't going to happen with older persons and things like that. So we had to start from the youngest generation right now.
Yeah, you're going to spend some money on the education of persons, but guess what? They're going to pay 2, 3, 4 times in the future when you look at how much you're saving because of this.
And not only that, a healthier population will be able to adapt to climate change impacts. And that is what we will really see in the future as well.
Interesting. How so?
Because if it is that you're healthier, you're not only going to be able to work longer, harder, be more productive as a person, but you're also going to ride through all of the hot temperatures and the water scarcity and all of these kinds of stuff. We'll be a little bit better as a society and be more resilient. Yeah. So yeah, our small islands have a lot of resilience.
Right. Right, yeah, I agree and I understand that. And I'm going to ask both of you all just to take a minute, and if you all want to say any last things about your topic for today.
Well, I don't mind saying something in terms of the platform that we're on, right? So we the youth, right? So I think we should touch a little bit in terms of what the youth in Trinidad and Tobago could do to basically help the situation that we have right now, not only with climate change, but also the healthcare system. So we could ask that a lot of you do choose to volunteer, right? Volunteer not only, I mean, I'm going to speak about healthcare, but sure Katrina could tell us the numerous avenues that youth could venture into to basically help.
Yep, there are lots of environmental NGOs, climate-specific NGOs and stuff like that as well. But I think that being a holistic person means that you're not only going to find one little niche, you're going to find multiple things that you can work towards to build up your all-roundedness, then your capacity. You have a holistic outlook on life, and then that would be able to help everyone, because we are not one person. We all have to work together and build on each other's strengths.
Correct. And then we also going to have to look in terms of how we could reach the youth as well, right? So not just go into the schools alone, but social media is a huge thing in Trinidad, right? You could target youth easily through social media campaigns that they're going to see over and over and over. This is about diabetes. This is about climate change. Maybe I should use this glass bottle versus like a one-time use plastic. And just that constant reinforcement with the youth is going to make the difference later on.
Right. And I want to thank both of you all for being here and spending the time. And I'm just going to throw a question out as just yes or no. So you all mentioned an educational campaign. I believe you both have colleagues and co-workers and things like that. If you were to ask you to come to different primary schools on different occasions, would you all come and give lectures and speeches?
Yes.
So there are young people out there who wants to help make a difference. And with that being said, this is We the Youth, where we discuss things of the young people. We discuss national issues. It's a show by the youth, for the youth, and of the youth, created by Our Part. Our Part simply stands for Our Portal of Accountability and Representation for Trinidad and Tobago. We are a civil society, and we're geared towards national development. With that being said, tomorrow's episode will discuss e-government. So just like there's electronic mail and different things, we're going to talk about the electronic government and how things work. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to tune in tomorrow.
Expression is who we are. New Talk Radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This election, vote for